Always learn a new skill. You never know when it'll help you out.
Heading south to the track, get down here and work on some equipment, help out for the day. You know, support the sport I engage in at the place I engage in it at. So, just, being a good steward of drag racing and motorsports in general. There goes the Viper. So I'm just riding along, going down here to do my thing. It's been a crazy couple of weeks. I've worked on everything but a high rod in the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Between the day job and everything else that's been going on, it's been pretty busy. I didn't get a video out last week. I apologize. I did buy some new stuff for the channel though, and I need to show you that, and maybe I'll do a video on some of that stuff next. But I do got a couple of projects coming up for this week. Hopefully we can get filmed, and I can do a little bit of filming on what it is I've been working on for the last week or so. Just different things that you wouldn't expect in a speed shop, or expect the speed shop to go work on.
We had a lot of ground to cover, so filming got pushed to the side more than I would have liked, but here's a few clips of some of the stuff I worked on. As I always say, you never know what you're going to have to work on, so learn every skill you can. And in this case, I needed to put a new track on this skid loader. For those of you that's never done this, there's a lot of good videos out on YouTube on it, so I didn't spend a lot of time on it. But inside that little opening there in the side of the machine is a grease fitting, a zerk on a big plug. You unscrew the plug, grease comes out. That lets the end of the roller push back as the grease comes out, and the belt goes slack, or the track goes slack, and then you can work it off of the drive gear, slip it off, get out of the way, put your new one on. Then you put the plug back in and start pumping the grease back in, and it took about a tube of grease to do it. And the trick is, you want to get the belt so that it's about a 3 fingers distance between the little roller wheels and the ride side of the belt, the side of the belt the roller rolls on. So now we just give it a good steam cleaning, put the new track on, pull the cover back off, pump it full of grease, pull the track tight. And typically the way this works, when you can put 3 fingers between this roller and your track, the part where the roller rolls on, then you're tight as you need to be. It's just one of those things, there's a trick to it. If you know the trick, it's pretty easy. So next up was this old Galyen Packer. It had been sitting for a while, needed some work done to it. It needed a new master cylinder. We replaced some gauges in it, did some maintenance on it, greased it. Anything had a zerk fit and got grease put in it, put a new amp gauge on it, new temperature gauge, and I was working on that in this photograph. That's why the wires are hanging loose. And then we had to tighten up the chain drive in the back. That differential actually has chains going down in those stalks there and drives this thing like a high crop tractor, if you're familiar with those. Interesting little project. Didn't get to film it, but I did take a few snapshots. Also got to drive this cool old F450 with a turbo 7.3 and a 6-speed in it. Nice truck. So in between time, I made up some hoses for a few people. Did a little driveline work. Did manage to sell a few Holly pieces this week for an LS swap that I've been helping out with. Actually got to sell some more Willwood brake products. I usually sell aerospace, but this guy was looking for Willwood, and I do have access to it, so here we go. I made a deal with Dakota Digital, so we now have access to their awesome selection of instrument panels and other various gauge-related products. Here's the one in question. This was going in a 71 Chevelle. So I put a headlight switch in a late 80s F-Series truck. Then I had to put a starter on a 2005 or so Tahoe. Then my F-250 needed a brake job, which culminated into swapping out a caliper. Okay, this is my McFunnel. Why do I call it a McFunnel? Because it has a McDonald's straw. They're not sponsoring this video, by the way. The funnel, I believe, came with the little Ryobi weed whacker that I used to have. And it fits nicely around that straw. Now, why is that important? If you put a piece of tape on it to make sure it doesn't pop off, which usually it doesn't fall out anyway, but depending on what you're running through it, it can get loose, and depending on the straw. But then you can cut this straw to whatever length you need it. And what I'm going to do with this particular setup today is I'm going to pre-bleed this caliper as I'm doing a brake job on my Super Duty. So I'm just going to fill this up, let it drippy drop air out till it purges itself, fill up the bleed side, and go ahead and put this caliper on. Then last Saturday rolled around and we finally got to have some fun. Here's the view from the top of the sled we'd been working on. That's a pulling sled for pulling trucks. We also had a little one present, and I'll show you some videos of the mini rods and the little mini truck giving it a pull here in a second. It was a good weekend overall.